Welcome. The topic which I am going to cover today is very interesting and is very important, not only from bank audit angle, from all other acts including IBC, including RBI, all Banking Regulation Act and all other acts, even from Indian Penal Code also. Everything is very important with reference to this word, willful defaulter. Who is called as willful defaulter? That we have to analyze today, because this is very important, and I am going to read the RBI circular and interpret wherever it is required. I am just reading circular DBOD number DLBC 12928 20.16.003/2007-18 dated 2/7/2007, wherein RBI has defined willful default, willful defaulter, and what to do. Everything is clearly stated in that circular number. I will read that circular, and wherever it is necessary I am going to interpret, and this is according to my view. Kindly watch this willful defaulter circular, because this will be helpful to you in entire career as an auditor, as any consultant, anything. This is very important. Pursuant to the instruction of the Central Vigilance Commission for collection of information on willful defaults of rupees 25 lakhs and above by RBI and dissemination to the reporting banks and financial institutions, a scheme was framed under which the banks and notified All India financial institutions were required to submit RBI the details of the willful defaulter. That is, willful default of rupees 25 lakhs and above, everything has to be reported to RBI by banks and financial institutions by naming the willful defaulter. Willful default broadly covered the following: deliberate non-payment of the dues despite adequate cash flow and good net worth, siphoning of the funds to the detriment of the defaulting unit, assets financed either not being purchased or being sold, or sold and process have been misutilized, misrepresentation or falsification of records, disposal or removal of securities without bank's knowledge, fraudulent transaction by the borrower. So deliberate non-payment of the dues despite adequate, say the company has got adequate cash flow, but they don't want to make the payment. This is the first thing that is defined in willful default. Second thing, siphoning of funds to the detriment of the defaulting unit, because here the borrower has taken all the cash, all the funds from the unit, so that the unit will be a failure one. Then assets finance either not been purchased or not been sold, and process have been utilized. See, the bankers are financed to purchase an asset, but funds have been borrowed from the bank, but no assets have been purchased. And in case assets which have been purchased and if it is sold, those amounts have to be repaid to the bank, but they have misutilized the funds, that is, they have diverted the funds. And misrepresentation and falsification of records, that is, the records which have been wrongly produced or fabricated records have been produced. Then disposal or removal of securities without bank knowledge. Suppose some cases machineries would have been purchased and installed, but without the knowledge of the bankers, they removed the securities, then that is also a fraudulent activity. That is, it's a fraudulent willful defaulter list. It is being covered. Then all fraudulent transactions by the borrower. So fraudulent transactions may be pointed by the bankers, or may be pointed out by the RBI, or pointed out by the auditors. All these are covered under willful default list. This you have to clearly understand. Then the above scheme, that is, a scheme came into force with effect from 1/4/1999. Accordingly, banks and financial institutions started reporting all cases of willful defaults which covered or were detected after 31st March of 1999 on quarterly basis. That means they have to submit on a quarterly basis, they have to submit. It covered all NPA borrowal accounts with outstandings, funded and non-funded facilities which are covered, which are converted into funded facilities aggregating 25 lakhs and above, identified as willful default by the committee of higher functionaries headed by executive director and consisting of 2 GMs and DGMs. That is, it is only an outstanding amount of 25 lakhs and above, funded advance plus non-funded advance converted as funded advance. So only funded advance have to be taken. It has to be identified by the committee of higher function, that is ED, executive director plus 2 GMs or DGMs. Banks and financial institutions were advised that they should examine all cases of willful default of 1 crore and above for filing the suits and also consider criminal action wherever instances of cheating or fraud by the defaulting borrower were detected. So, willful default of 1 crore and above, they have to go for the suit filing. So, that's the thing which is stated in the RBI circular. In case of consortium and multiple banking lending, banks and financial institutions were advised that they report willful defaulters to other participating and financing banks also. Suppose in one bank they have found out some willful defaulter, they have to report to the other bankers in the case of multiple bank finance and consortium advances. Cases of willful defaulters at overseas branches were required to be reported if such disclosure is permitted under the laws of the host country, because everything they have to, suppose in case in foreign if there is any willful default is being noted by that country, then that has to be conveyed to this bank and they have to inform to the RBI if it is the outstanding amount is more than 25 lakhs and above. So the willful defaulter definition is very important, and this is the thing you have to bear in mind. And what is the definition of willful default? A willful default will be deemed to have occurred if any of the following events if noted, that is, the unit has defaulted in making its payment or repayment obligation to the lender, even when it has the capacity to honor the said obligation. That is, loans have been failed to repay, even the unit has got sufficient funds to pay. So willfully they have committed the mistake not to repay the loan. The second situation is the unit has defaulted in meeting its repayment obligations to the lender and has not utilized the finance from the lender for the specific purpose for which finance was availed, but has diverted the funds for some other purpose. That means it's a fund diversion. Loan is applied for one purpose and funds have been transferred to utilized for some other purpose. This is also covered under willful defaulter list. Lot of CBI inquiries have been conducted based on this point only, because of diversion of funds also play a very important role in carrying out CBI inquiry in everything, because they are acting based on this circular only. The unit has defaulted in meeting its payment or repayment obligations to the lender and has siphoned off the funds, so the funds have not been utilized for the specific purpose for which finance was availed of, nor the funds availed with the unit in the form of other assets. So now the banks, they have sanctioned the loan, but the borrower has siphoned off. That means he has taken away all the funds, but he has not invested anywhere. He has utilized for some other purpose. That assets have not been. It is not possible to identify. So all these things have been classified under the definition of willful default. Now RBI has further said, what is the diversion of funds? What is the siphoning of funds? Diversion of funds would be considered to include any one of the following, that is, utilization of short-term working capital funds for long-term purposes not in conformity with the terms of sanction, because cash credit loan is sanctioned, but with the help of the cash credit loan, they have taken the cash credit loan and purchased any machinery or utilized for any house purpose, that is for long-term assets. If it is used, then it's a diversion of funds. Second one is deploying borrowed funds for the purpose and activities or creation of assets other than those for which loan was sanctioned. If loan was sanctioned for, see, in one of my cases the loan is sanctioned for to construct, to buy or to develop a polytechnic college. For polytechnic college, the loan is being sanctioned by the bank. But that borrower, that college people, what they did, they have utilized these funds to construct and get the license for engineering college. So the purpose for which the loan is sanctioned and utilized for some other purpose is also a diversion of funds. Then transferring funds to subsidiaries or group companies or other corporates by whatever modalities. Head office, that is the holding company has got the loan, but it diverts the funds to subsidiaries without bank's permission. Then routing of funds through any bank other than the lender bank or members of consortium without permission of the lender. This is the main condition that is being that you can see from the sanction letter, that if the funds have not, if the there is if any loan is borrowed from some X bank, all the transactions should be routed through that X bank. But in order to avoid in making the interest payment or some other thing, but they are opening the account with some other bank and they are making the transaction, that is also called diversion of funds. So any diversion of funds is also called as willful default. So you can instruct your client not to do this. Then investment in other companies by way of acquiring equities or debt instruments without approval of the lender, because normally the loan has a specific sanction saying that the amount should not be used for share transactions. So stock exchange transactions, you should not do it. But if the company is doing it, then they have to get the approval of the lenders. If there is no approval, then that is also called as diversion of funds. Any diversion of funds is also a willful defaulter. Shortfall in deployment of funds, that is amount disbursed on and the difference not being accounted. Suppose in case 1 crore loan has been sanctioned, but only the investment is made for 75 lakhs and 25 lakhs for that 25 lakhs, if no account is being given, that is also called as diversion of funds. Now we are going for siphoning of funds. What is siphoning of funds? It should be construed as to occur if any funds borrowed from banks or financial institutions are utilized for the purpose unrelated to the operation of the borrower, to the detriment of the financial health or the entity or of the lender. Suppose if loan is being borrowed and instead of investing in business, if he has invested in some other purpose, say for personal use, then that company will not grow. So it is a detrimental to the financial health of the company. The decision as to whether a particular instance amounts to siphoning of funds would have to be a judgment of the lender based on objective of facts and circumstances of the case. That means siphoning of funds have to be decided by the lenders. Then the identification of the willful default should be made keeping in view of the track record of the borrowers and should not be decided on the basis of isolated transactions or incidents. The default can be categorized as willful must be intentional, deliberate and calculated. So this is the thing with reference to siphoning of funds. Then what is the cut-off limits? Then Central Vigilance Commission, they said outstanding limit is 25 lakhs and above for funded advance and non-funded advance converted as funded advance. This is the cut-off limit. Above that, everything has to be reported in the form of diversion of funds and siphoning of funds. Then end use of funds, that is also to be established. In case of project financing, the banks and the financial institutions to ensure end use of funds by obtaining certification from CA for the purpose. In case any loan is being sanctioned, normally the bankers nowadays ask the chartered accountant to certify that the purpose for which the loan is being sanctioned is being properly utilized. That is, end use certificate has to be given by a chartered accountant. So you have to be very, very careful. Unless until you satisfy it with the records, you should not sign. Otherwise, you will be caught, because if any false certificate is being given, then you are caught by the RBI through willful defaulter list. In case of short-term corporate and clean loans, such an approach ought to be supplemented by due diligence on the part of the lenders themselves, and to the extent possible, such loans should be limited to only those borrowers whose integrity and reliability are above board. The banks and financial institutions should not depend entirely on the certificates issued by CA, but strengthen their internal controls and credit risk management system to enhance the quality of their loan portfolio. So
Banks, they insist for the CS certificate, but they have to apply their mind and decide whether the end use is being properly done or not. If the bankers feel otherwise, then CAs will be in trouble. So you have to be very, very careful in signing the end use certificate.
Needless to say, ensuring end use of funds by banks and financial institutions should form part of their loan policy document, for which appropriate measures should be put in the place. The following illustrative measures that could be taken by the lenders for monitoring and ensuring end use of funds. That is, banks, they have to follow the steps. Meaningful scrutiny of quarterly progress report, operating statements, and balance sheet of the borrowers. Regular inspection of the borrowers, assess charge to the, so regular inspection, regular verification of scrutiny of returns, then regular verification of borrowers' books of accounts, and the no lien account maintained by the other banks. Suppose in case any other account is being maintained with the other bank, that also has to be verified by the lender, and periodical visits to the assisted units. So the bankers, they have to go to the units periodically. System of periodical stock audit in case of working capital finance. So stock audit has to be conducted every regularly as per the RBI guidelines or as per the head office guidelines. Periodical comprehensive management audit of the credit function of the lenders, so as to identify the systematic weakness on the credit administration. In case if the borrower has got that is creditors, sundry creditors, how they are making the payment. That is also another very, very important. Through that they can do the verification. That is the bankers, they can take the follow-up action. Now we are going to discuss about the penal measures. In order to prevent the access to the capital markets by the willful defaulters, a copy of the list of the willful defaulters and list of willful defaulters, that is suit filed and non-suit filed accounts, are to be forwarded to SEBI by RBI and CIBIL respectively. So here you have to note a very, very important thing. Banks in turn, they have to report to RBI. RBI in turn, they have to report to SEBI, whether it is a suit filed account or non-suit filed account. But if they are coming under willful defaulter list, they have to do it. As well as CIBIL also, CIBIL, that is Credit Information Bureau India Limited also, they have to report to SEBI. So this is a very, very important thing, you have to take note of it. That is, no additional facilities should be granted. What are the minus points of willful defaulter? If anyone is identified as willful defaulter, no additional facility should be granted by bank or financial institution to the listed willful defaulters. In addition, the entrepreneurs, promoters of the companies with the banks, financial institutions have identified siphoning or diversion of funds, misrepresentation, falsification of accounts, and fraudulent transactions should be debarred from institutional finance, from scheduled commercial banks, development finance institutions, government-owned NBFCs, investment institutions, etc., for floating new ventures for a period of 5 years from the date the name of the defaulter is published in the list of willful defaulters by RBI. So for a period of 5 years, if anyone's name is included by RBI in the willful defaulter list, they are not supposed to float new ventures. That means they are not supposed to raise any funds for a period of 5 years. So this willful defaulter list is available in each and every bank's site. That's this you can see. Then legal process wherever warranted against the borrowers and guarantors, and foreclosure of recovery of dues should be initiated expeditiously. The lenders may initiate criminal proceedings against the willful defaulters wherever necessary. So let us take the example of Vijay Mallya and as Nirav Modi. So they are all called as willful defaulters, plus they are in the list of blacklisted customers. There is another portion called blacklisted customers. So wherever possible, the banks and financial institutions should adopt a proactive approach for a change of management by the willfully defaulting borrowing. So banks, they can interfere into the management and they can change the management. They are covenant in the loan agreement with the companies in which banks and notified financial institutions have significant stake should be incorporated by banks, and to the effect that the borrowing company should not indebt a person
who is a promoter or a director on the board of the company which has been identified as a willful defaulter as per the definition stated above, and such person is found to be on the board of the company, of a borrower company, it would take expeditious and effective steps for removal of the person from the board. A person is in the willful defaulter list, he should not act as a director in any of the company against which the bank is giving the loan. If the bank found that that person is in the list of the willful defaulter, then he has to be removed. Then only loans will be sanctioned. It would be imperative on the part of the banks and financial institutions to put in place a transparent mechanism for the entire process so that penal provisions are not misused and the scope of such discretionary powers are kept to the barest minimum. It should be ensured that a solitary or isolated instances is not made on the basis of imposing the penal action. First thing, no additional facility is to be given to the willful defaulter. Legal proceedings can be taken against the willful defaulter, and management can be changed by the bankers if there are any willful defaulters in the company. Then they should not be allowed to promote any company. Then if any person is there in the company as a director as a willful defaulter, then that person should be removed from the board. This is a thing you have to see from the willful defaulter penal measures. Guarantees furnished by group companies, that we are going to read. While dealing with the willful defaulter of a single borrowing company in a group, the banks and financial institutions should consider the track record of the individual company with the reference to its repayment performance to its lenders. However, in cases where the lender of comfort or the guarantees furnished by the companies within the group on behalf of the willfully defaulting units are not honored when invoked by the banks, should also be reckoned as the willful default. Suppose in any guarantee is given, then if the bank has invoked due to the submission, then if any person has not honored that invocation amount, then that person should also be called as willful defaulter. Then what is the role of the auditor? This you have to be very careful. We have to see, in case any falsification of accounts on the part of the borrowers is observed by banks, financial institutions, and if it is observed that the auditors were negligent, now this is a word they use, if it is observed that auditors were negligent or deficient in conducting the audit, they should lodge a formal complaint against the auditors of the borrowers with ICAI to enable the ICAI to examine and fix the accountability of the auditor. That is, if you fail to do it, then you will be referred to the ICAI to take disciplinary action to fix the accountability. With a view to monitoring the end use of funds, if the lenders desire a specific certification from the borrower's auditors regarding diversion or siphoning of funds by the borrower, the lender should award a separate mandate to the auditors for the purpose. To facilitate such certification by the auditors, the banks and financial institutions will also need to ensure that appropriate covenants in the loan agreements are incorporated to enable award of such mandate by the lenders to the borrower's auditors. So auditor, they have to be very careful to sign whenever they are signing the end use certificate. Then what is the role of the internal auditor and inspection? The aspect of diversion of funds by the borrowers should be adequately looked into while conducting internal audit and inspection of their offices, branches, and periodical reviews on cases of willful default should be submitted to the audit committee of the board. Bank. So at this juncture I want to remember one thing. In LFA, long form audit report, in staff audit report, they ask one specific question: is there any fund diversion? If you say no, that means you are endorsing everything. So in LFAR you have to give on test check, I found nothing. But when you are going for stock audit or concurrent audit, there will be a specific question: is there any fund diversion? If it is there, then you have to give. If you are not given that, and if the bank has found it later, then we will be answerable to our
in suit.
Then reporting to RBI and CIBIL, banks and financial institutions should submit the list of suit filed accounts of willful defaulters of rupees 25 lakhs and above as at the end March, June, September, December every year to CIBIL and other credit information company which has been obtained would obtain a certificate of registration from RBI in terms of section 5 of the Credit Information Companies Regulation Act of 2005 and of which it's a member from a quarter ended on 31/3/2003. So banks and financial institutions should however submit quarterly list of willful defaulters where suits have not been filed only to RBI in the format. So suits have been filed. You have to give information of willful defaulter list to RBI on quarterly basis, including as well as to the CIBIL you have to give. If no suit is being filed, but they are included in list of the willful defaulter, then the banker has to submit its report only to RBI. Then there is a grievance redressal mechanism. Then because if a banker has identified one person as a defaulter, then he has to be given opportunity to explain his position. If the explanation is not satisfactory, then the banker has to proceed. The banker has to proceed and inform to RBI. Then the RBI in turn they have to inform to SEBI. So this is the stage we have to take it. So executive director and the two GMs, they are forming the committee to decide a person as a willful defaulter. The final declaration as willful defaulter should be made after review is being taken by the committee on the representation, and the borrower should be suitably advised. Suppose in case the committee has not agreed to the explanation of the borrower, then they have to give this information to the borrower why they are not included. So this is the things you have to name, you have to see about the willful defaulter. So willful defaulter is a very, very important thing you have to see. Willful default, we have discussed who are all for doing that. Willful default are called as willful defaulter. Then only for 25 lakhs and above, funded and non-funded advances converted as funded, they have to report. For above 1 crore, they have to compulsorily do it. They have to compulsorily report it. So all the banks, they have to report on quarterly basis to RBI. In case for all suit filed accounts, they have to report to RBI as well as to CIBIL. In case there is no, they are covered under willful defaulter list, but there is no suit is being filed, then the bankers, they have to report to RBI. Then RBI in turn, they have to report to SEBI for about further details. SEBI and CIBIL, RBI, they will report. So this is the thing we have to know about willful defaulter, because if anyone is identified as willful defaulter, then no loan is being sanctioned, all legal proceedings will be initiated. So if you have to give NU certificate, you have to be very, very careful. This is the thing I want to share about the word willful defaulter. Please take care of this presentation. If you have got any doubt, you can refer RBI circular number DBOD number DL.BC.201928/20.16.003/2007-8 dated July 2nd, 2007. Kindly go through this circular, and if you have got any doubt, the circular is very clear. Wherever possible, I have interpreted from my angle. This is my interpretation only. If you differ, then you can give your suggestion in the message box. Thank you very much for watching this video. Nandri, Vanakkam.